All right. Let's see here. Senator Rounds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your time this morning. I'd like to just read a little bit of a summary of what's happened in my state of South Dakota and the challenges that we face, and then I'd like your response, please. In the year 2012, which was the base year, South Dakota's native electricity production was approximately 74% renewable energy and 26% from fossil fuels. We have one coal-fired power plant that employs 80 people, that's the Big Stone plant, and one natural gas combined cycle plant, and that's the Deer Creek Station. Each of these plants dispatches power into a different regional transmission organization. In your plan, you calculated Deer Creek Station's actual 2012 capacity factor at 1%, despite the fact that the Deer Creek Station was not commercially operational until August of that year. Had the EPA considered Deer Creek under construction in 2012, the plan would have assigned Deer Creek an assumed capacity factor of 55% in the year 2012. Because of these calculations in your plan, it would require that the Big Stone plant, the coal-fired plant, which now operates at approximately 8,000 hours a year, to operate at between 2,000 and 2,500 hours per year in order to comply with your targets for the state of South Dakota. The results of this coal plant running less than half of the time it runs now doesn't work. The Big Stone plant employs approximately 80 people, and under your preferred plan, we simply have to wonder whether or not those jobs would remain in the state, or whether or not the plant would continue to operate. Further, let's just go into that a little bit. Operating a baseline or a base load coal unit 2,000 hours per year is literally uneconomical, and it really is infeasible to do. Because Big Stone Power Plant and the Deer Creek Station operate in separate RTOs, the electricity in one RTO cannot be transferred to the consumers in another RTO who depend on the plants to keep their lights on. Adding an additional layer of complexity to this is the fact that the Big Stone plant is in the middle of a $400 million BART upgrade in order to comply with the EPA's regional haze rule and South Dakota's 2012 state implementation plan to comply with that rule. This project isn't even completed yet, and after a $400 million investment, which, by the way, is the largest single private investment that our state has ever seen, you are now telling this plant that they may not even be able to operate at all in order to comply with your latest regulations. My question is this. We have a limited number of electric generating resources in South Dakota. Each facility is absolutely vital to meeting the energy needs of my state and our surrounding states. In light of this, what, if any, flexibility is built into your proposed rule for a state like South Dakota, and what flexibility is there for facilities that are in the midst of a major upgrade, at least at your direction, and are now being told that they need to do even more to meet these additional regulations that you plan on implementing?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Senator, for your question. And we certainly are welcoming conversations at this level of detail from states, and we're having many of them. And I trust and hope that your state has provided that input to us in their comments, and that we're having those conversations. I want to emphasize again that the proposal we put out is not prescriptive. We do think that states can find ways to reduce carbon in order to meet the targets. We are looking very closely at all of the kinds of issues that you're raising with us. In particular, if states think that we got something factually wrong, we've urged them to tell us, and many of them have. So I presume that your state is having that conversation with us. And if we got something factually wrong, then we will address that, because we want to make sure that the final rule is appropriate and correct and still maintains flexibility. There are opportunities across the regions, across the states, to have investment in clean technologies and energy efficiency and renewables, and your state, I believe, has been a leader in some of those technologies, and we applaud that. So that's why we think this can work. We also appreciate that there are complexities, and especially in the West, there are states large states who are divided in terms of their energy markets. We're having conversations with states and with the energy regulators about those sorts of issues to make sure that the final Clean Power Plan can accommodate all of those sorts of considerations.
To the best of my knowledge, we've received no suggestions of how to fix the problem that we share with you today. I mean, this is a major proposal. Clearly, we would think there would be a significant amount of thought that would be put into the original rule to begin with.
Yes.
We've got no feedback that suggests that there's an alternative at this stage of the game. And I'm just curious, are you suggesting that a final rule would be significantly different than what the proposed rule is based upon the information that we've provided to you already?
I'm suggesting, as is usually the case with EPA regulations, that the comments that we receive may well lead to adjustments in the final rule. In fact, I don't have any experience with an EPA rule where that has not happened. That's why the public comment process is so important, and I would emphasize that even beyond the formal public comment process, the tremendous relationship and discussions that we've had with states and stakeholders to make sure that we get this right. So yes, to the extent that adjustments are appropriate within our authority and needed to make sure that the rule can work right, we certainly will be looking at those kinds of things.
All of us want clean air. Mm-hmm. Challenge is how do we get there? How do we maintain what we have already? And how can we afford in the future to pick up the costs for making it better in the future? The United States Chamber of Commerce last year in a report suggested, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but that the cost to the average American family would be approximately $1,400 per year to comply with this particular rule. Did you have, or are you aware of what the costs or what the estimated costs were when the rule was proposed, or what the anticipated cost for a family would be to comply with this rule? And would you share with us? Sure, Senator.
For every rule, for every significant rule like this, we do a regulatory impact analysis along with the proposed rule. We did that here. It's all available for everybody to take a look at. I'm not sure about the specific study that you cited, but we did do a forward look. I need to make sure that everybody knows that because states will ultimately decide exactly what to do here, our projections can only be illustrative. We are confident that states will make the best choices for the families within their borders, and that will take into consideration cost. Because of this rule is all built on the things that are happening now in this industry. And things that are happening now is that utilities are using less carbon intensive, more economical fuels. They are investing in renewable energy, and they are investing in energy efficiency. And those things together reduce carbon emissions, but overall, because of the tremendous impact that energy efficiency can have in the amount of energy we use, we expect bills to go down.
Mr. Chairman, my time is up. May I just read one sentence into the record? Just the South Dakota Public Utilities Commission in July of this last year said that some South Dakotans will see their electricity rates almost double as a result of the CPP disproportionately impacting the Midwest. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Senator Gillibrand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for this very important hearing. Thank you, Assistant Administrator, for testifying.